Welcome to an extraordinary world filled with magic and wonder. Open your mind and let yourself go to a place where every day is Halloween and every night
Shawn Windsor.
I am the Pumpkin King!
dreams of something different.
What is this? It's someplace new.
It's the soul of Detroit.
You asked interrogative questions out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric, back in the big chair with some songs from the big chair, perhaps in room 7609, where we still occasionally celebrate new wave music. But I am so excited that we are on the cusp of my very favorite holiday, which is Halloween. And it's not just because of all the naughty nurse costumes and the French maids who show up at your house who you don't know whether they're going to trick you or whether you're the trick. But it's a great time because it's all about kids and they get stuff and you give them stuff and they love it and it lasts for days. And usually there's some candy left over and that you can have. And it's just, it's the best Halloween.
Sounds like Christmas. You just described Christmas.
No, Christmas starts 9 months early and you have to have shopping lists and you have to go get all this stuff and people expect you to spend a certain amount and, you know, do you get something for your cousins? Oh, well, this cousin's more like a brother, so I got to get something for them. But then cousin Shemp, who's always been a pain in the balls, do I get something for cousin Shemp? I guess I probably should because I got something for cousin Righteous Dude. So no. Christmas is when you get away from the true meaning of it, is a big con, and Halloween isn't. Although they try and make a lot of money out of it, but you can still make your own costume. You can still have a party. You can still. I don't like the trunk or treating stuff, and I don't like the Halloween parties because where I live, the Halloween parties basically became a way to not hand out candy because kids from Detroit might come to your house.
Okay.
So I don't like that. But just the good old come on to my porch and I say what a cool costume that is and would you like some candy, and everybody's happy. And even the guy who comes as that guy and you're like, well, who's that guy? He's like, I'm that guy who didn't have a costume but I still want some candy. I still like seeing those people on Halloween. It just makes me happy.
I think you just made up for not being here last week. Are we ready for Cyrus?
Erika's here. Erika, by the way, new job. You guys heard about this? She's going back on TV. She's going to be...
Good for her.
She's going to be the queen of the night, working the nightside at Channel 4, which I think is fantastic. Genius hire by Channel 4. It totally makes up for the terrible decision to hire me 18 years ago. She's going to kill it. 2006 is when I started at Channel 4.
Years. Yeah, she's going to be great.
And 18 months later, I was over. Yeah.
And the best part is she negotiated that she can stay with us for a little bit.
I know.
Actually,
what is she thinking?
I think Channel 4 was happy to hitch their wagon to this powerhouse podcast.
Well, maybe that's it.
Yeah, shooting through the charts like Montezuma's Revenge.
Is that why you're wearing a tie today?
Yeah, why are you all dressed up?
80s skinny tie, or is that not, or am I missing that?
That's a 60s skinny tie. It's called a rooster, and that's my favorite kind of tie. You know, I dress to the weather, and when it's hot like it was this summer, you get Island E, and now that it's nice out, I can be a respectable reporter guy.
By the way, I was walking into Michigan Stadium the other day, and the media...
You're not going to call me out on Island E? It's just going to slide, but perfect.
Yeah,
I thought there's no chance.
The media, walk into the media entrance on the
third person
on the west side of the stadium, and I look over, and there's Jennifer Hammer, and she said, "Oh, I just came from a tailgate where I saw your buddy." And, he'd had a few drinks. And I thought, oh, wow, I wonder how Mike's night's going to go. I guess it didn't go that well.
Well,
But I'm glad she saw you.
Guess who I walked into the stadium with?
Oh.
Damn it. These phones with the kids and the TikTok.
Oh, Johnny Spirit.
Johnny Spirit. We escorted him because Matt Riley, as usual, and if you've given us $5 a month to be a patron member, you can watch this video. But Matt Riley, who always helps out people, had an extra ticket for Johnny Spirit. So Johnny, by the way, I think has a clamshell phone to go with his one-speed bike that he claims he rides from East Lansing to all points on the compass.
Why didn't he just ride with his mom, who went to the game and sat next to me?
Because his mom is 92,
I
and
know.
she needed to be escorted in by somebody else. And Johnny doesn't stand still.
There wasn't room in her car for Spirit?
I think there was probably room.
Mama Spirit was very nice during the game.
Yeah.
She's very nice.
Did you have fun, though, Mike?
So I had, hold on a second. I had to escort Johnny in because I had his ticket on my phone.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. Went to some awesome tailgates. One of them was hosted by my buddy Dave Coal, who co-hosts a tailgate with Duggan Fife. And then a block over was Matt Riley's Little House.
What about Marc's and Drew's?
Yeah, that was the Little House
That's
one,
Little House.
where that picture was taking place.
Oh, okay.
So that's where
How
I saw.
about the end of the second quarter through the rest of the game? How was it?
So I'll give Michigan State credit for going for it. I thought when you got a kicker like that, you can get a couple plays in, kick a field goal.
Going for it when? Oh, at the end of the first half?
Yeah, we said end of the second quarter, right?
Yeah,
So-
You were worried early, right, Mark?
Through the rest of the game. You know what? I kind of wasn't in a weird way just because it was so low. If it's one possession, I don't get worried.
And them not scoring a touchdown on that first drive was the difference in the game. Well, that and a fumble.
Well, that missed field goal too. I mean, the false start missed field goal. But absolutely, Jonathan Smith, absolutely the right thing to do after you get that, 13-yard carry on first down?
I think so. He had 29 seconds. He had timeouts, you know.
He better not get shit for that because that's the right thing to do.
Okay, fine. So Michigan State lost again, third time in a row. But to you guys, because you're both obviously grads of these schools, when they're 4-3 and it's kind of meh, but does it still mean as much? Does it still sting as much when your team loses or feel good as much when they win?
Only because I have to be here.
So it's all about the bragging rights.
Well, that's makes me feel a little foolish that I got you a little gift on my way home. Where's this camera? There we go.
Classy. Always nothing but class. Middle finger T-shirt.
Look at that.
It says steal this sign.
Okay. So you really think that was a thing, huh?
Dude,
So-
you know where I bought this? I bought this in Ann Arbor outside the stadium. So apparently,
Sure, it was licensed.
apparently your
That's actually
hawkers thought that was appropriate.
That's a great shirt, actually. It should be italicized, though, this, right? Not underlined.
You owe me $10.
Shawn does?
No, Mike.
I don't want it.
Then
You think I want that shirt? I don't want that shirt.
then I'll take it out of
I'm a big fan of Connor Stallion.
Did you guys think it was going
Well, I think that's pro Connor Stallions. That's Connor Stallions saying, steal this sign.
No, I think that's why it was sold there.
Were you
it's
both in the
Michigan, It's a
stands?
Michigan fans giving them.
Were you both in the stands when Michigan bench cleared, and did you think it was going to go off the rails again on the field after the game and just turn into another ugly incident?
I think you're ignoring the pre-show meeting. About
what was that?
When we're going to talk about that.
Oh, sorry. We're going to talk about that later? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about
Coming up on today's show.
This may also be why your column got deleted because people think ahead and save.
Let's
Control S.
sorry. Let's get back to
Ouch.
Detroit politics.
Control
Ouch, that
S.
hurts, man.
Yeah, let's get back to
Don't
Detroit
do that.
politics.
Deshaun's having a bad day. Don't do that.
Well, before we do that, let's thank the people who make it possible for us to be here. That's Dr. Yaldo, who is now my eye doctor. Checked me out, gave me a great prescription. I'm going to have a little procedure done that's going to help me keep glaucoma at bay. Just got a referral this morning from my doctor, so Dr. Y can do his thing. We'll tell you a little later on how Dr. Yaldo can have you seeing better than perfect vision. It is true. You can actually see better than perfect. You can't do better than 100%, and you can't lose more than 100%. And if you want to save a lot of money and put some away for the future, Luke Nowacki will tell you how Luke can help you plan for a better financial tomorrow. And of course, the pride of the East Side, the Caju Cafe. We love having them sponsor the show. Big week coming up. Oh, Thursday, huge Halloween party. I guarantee you there will be some nurses, some...
What is it with you and the nurses?
I just love those white outfits and the little white hat. And maybe it's the stockings. I don't know. That's just those old nurse, like...
I know, but it's 2024. Nobody dresses like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, on Halloween they do.
Well,
I guess
Halloween, yeah.
On Halloween.
7609.
Well, Halloween, everybody's a slutty.
Room
something.
7609
Freaks come out
should
at
tell
night.
us where his brain is, right?
So yeah, we'll we have a listener suggestion for room 7609 who was inspired by
That's not really the
Shawn,
point.
as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So
That's not really.
so this will probably have a very lugubrious tempo. But anyway, Caju Cafe.
Nobody used that word last week.
What's that?
Nobody used that word last week.
Tempo?
Or lugubrious.
Yeah, they said, Shawn, more tempo. More tempo.
Not quite my
you're like
tempo.
Ricky
I think
Ricardo in a
it's-
wheelchair.
I think it's not quite my tempo.
Okay. Anyways, Caju Cafe's got some great
nobody
stuff.
saw Whiplash?
I have seen Whiplash, yes.
Yeah, that's not quite my tempo. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Wow, thanks for
That's
the
all I took from Whiplash. Stupid hand of the fist. So,
thanks for the deep cut there.
not a big fan of that movie.
That's not really a deep cut, but go ahead.
More in the Caju Cafe later. The endorsement issue. I just heard on the way in that the Washington Post has lost 200,000 subscribers because their owner, Jeff Bezos, pulled the plug on their plan to endorse Kamala Harris. The Detroit News last week, by the way, also did not make an endorsement in the presidential election. I think that's more because they weren't satisfied with either candidate. I believe there is some precedent for them not endorsing in the presidential campaign because they really only pick Republicans, and they were like, no way, we're going with Trump. And the Free Press, we're waiting to see what the Free Press does. But this issue of endorsements, we've heard a lot of people screaming about this, and I do think there's some merit to this concern that Donald Trump has said people who oppose him will be punished. And I do think Jeff Bezos heard that and said, I don't want to be one of those people. And I'm very concerned that we have people who are worried about doing what they normally would do because they fear being punished by the most powerful person in the world. But after that preamble, let me tell you, I'm against endorsements. I've been against endorsements for a long time.
Me too.
And both times that I applied as a very long shot candidate to be editor of the Free Press, one of my plans was to get rid of the editorial page. I like having the op-eds where people write in and share their perspective. I love the letters to the editor. I mean, our show, a big part of our show is basically letters to the editor where we share your feedback. And when I started a paper in college, our motto was we print everything we receive. It was one of our mottos because anything people sent us, we felt like we were a platform to elevate other people's voices. But this notion that you need the newspaper to tell you what to do,
I think that's insane.
Is
insanely stupid.
Is crazy. And maybe in some of the smaller races or on some ballot issues where you're not that well informed about it, it's nice to have somebody say, we've studied this and this is what we think. But we just don't have the staff anymore to truly evaluate
It's not just
people
that.
in these lower races.
It's not just that. It's the place of the newspaper in the community and society and our culture. Remember, candidates used to go to editorial boards and try to win them over.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much they mattered.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, they still do.
Now it's podcasts. Right?
Mike Rogers came to the Free Press walking through that door knowing there's no way the Free Press was going to endorse him.
Well, that's the other thing, too. I think we know who the Free Press and who the news would endorse, right? Just politically based on the way they've been over the decades.
Yes, but one thing that I think both newspapers, with a recent exception, can be proud of is that when they endorse in primaries, they do try and endorse who they think will be the best candidate, even for the party they hope won't win. And if that's a little convoluted, let me put it this way. The Free Press, who you know is almost always going to endorse the Democratic candidate, will go and interview the Republicans and try and suggest that Republicans vote for the Republican candidate who they think would be the best to serve the state of Michigan. The exception would be when they endorsed Kevin Rinke for governor in 2022. And I do think they thought he was the best of the Republican candidates, but the endorsement of Rinke was so sarcastic and so mocking that it's not the kind of endorsement you would tell. I'm endorsed by the Detroit Free Press. I also think if you're a Republican, it doesn't help to tell people you were endorsed by the Detroit Free Press. But if you're endorsed by the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News, that's a pretty powerful statement that you have persuaded both sides of the political spectrum, at least on the editorial page side, that you got something going on.
It's not really that powerful. It just, I'm with Mark. It just doesn't matter that much.
I know people who take the free press and the news endorsements into the polls with them.
For judges, right? Or maybe, or potentially.
Well, that's a mistake because we don't vet them at all.
Issue on the ballot, right? I mean, proposals.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. For the more obscure races, it can be helpful, but we don't have the staff to really figure out who's better in those races anymore either.
Can I ask you guys this? So ideally, an editorial board is supposed to operate without any, oversight from the ownership. In theory, right? They're supposed to be unique and just independent, right? Isn't that the idea originally?
It is.
Well,
it was.
So was this in fact Bezos' decision, or is this somebody else who runs the Post for him? I mean, I don't.
No, Bezos. He wrote a piece I think that was published today saying this is my call. Here's why I do it. It was on principle because people don't trust the media, and he's blaming endorsements. I think the reason people don't trust the media is because the folks who we catch telling lies have become so effective at telling people don't trust the media who reported the truth about my lies, that people who want to believe the lies are like, yeah, I don't trust the media.
That's part of it, but that's not all of it. I mean, I do think the endorsements matter. Why should we put our necks out there that way? We'll just cover the news. You can still have opinion pieces, and that should be balanced.
That's what I was going to get at.
That should be balanced too.
Because as you were saying that, I saw that Bezos did write as to why they were not endorsing anybody. Then the story for the LA Times is that the owner just is Trump, right? He likes Trump, so he didn't want to.
No. LA Times is completely different, and this is
How is that one different?
Bezos's argument. You can take it or leave it. I think it's kind of a coin flip, but I do think the timing of it is highly suspect. But the reason why the LA Times didn't endorse is because the owner's daughter is extremely pro-Palestinian, and she would not allow Daddy's paper to endorse Kamala Harris because she disagrees with the Biden-Harris administration's position on what's going on in Gaza. So
that's kind of what I was getting at. So instead of just saying no endorsements whatsoever, why not let your editorial board write what they want to endorse, and then since you own the paper, have your daughter write something, right? Put both of them out there instead of no opinion. Wouldn't that be a better way to handle it?
That's the op-ed approach, right? You have one person write, I'm for this, and you have somebody from the other side write why I'm not for that or why I'm for something else. But this is, how many of us have worked in a company where there's a family member of the boss there? And it's the biggest nightmare you've ever had. Now, of course, Marc's dad was a boss, and there are a lot of people who didn't think he did a good job with the fries, but no one would tell Mr. Fellhauer that Marc was not putting enough salt on
really
those
flexed
fries.
my muscle there.
Yeah,
Did you not cook them properly?
You flexed your polyester shirt. But the nightmare of everybody, particularly in a newspaper, is that you're working for the owner's idiot kid who can do stuff like, pull the endorsement. I mean, the LA Times used to be one of the best papers in America. And now it's making major decisions based on the whims of the owner's daughter. Are you kidding me? I mean, and forget that it's his daughter. If it was his son, it would be just as bad. Sure. This isn't a gender thing. This is a Nepo baby problem. And it's horrible. If you worked there, I'd be heartbroken. I wouldn't know what to do. And these people at the Washington Post who are quitting or speaking out.
I'm shocked by that.
It's an incredibly brave thing they're doing, but holy crap.
I'm more surprised that people would cancel their subscription. I'm like, well, you like the paper beforehand. I don't think they're drastically going to change.
200,000 is a big number.
It's a huge number.
I don't think the Free Press has 200,000 subscribers.
Aren't you surprised that many people were like, yeah, I'm canceling?
No, because I think our society is a knee-jerk place where somebody says, do this and send a message. Okay, here's what's really happening when you cancel those subscriptions. You're hurting all of the reporters who are actually doing those stories that are exposing Trump's lies.
You're also punishing yourself if you like the paper beforehand. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Not endorsing somebody. That's what pushes you over the edge. Okay.
Now, if you want to punish Bezos, don't spend $1 million to go into space on his rocket. That's how you really stick it to Jeff.
I think he'll be fine.
And here's the other way you stick it to Jeff, and I encourage you to do this whether or not he endorses somebody. Go to a brick and mortar store down the street that employs your friends and neighbors and relatives. Don't buy everything with a click just because it's so
not easy. Why would I punish myself?
Well, because maybe the way you reward yourself is when you go around the block and you walk your kid down the street, you're not going past an empty storefront.
Well, that's a little different than, what he's doing with the Post.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you really want to punish Jeff Bezos,
I think he'll be fine.
don't take it out on the Post. The Post is already losing money. I mean, the reporters there are losing their jobs, and they're the ones writing the stories that expose these things. They're the ones who wanted to make an endorsement. So if you're mad that they didn't make an endorsement and then you cancel your subscription, you're hurting the very people who you should be supporting. But the whole endorsement thing, I think one of the reasons why people don't have confidence in us as the media anymore is because cable television news has determined that the way to make a lot of money is to get rid of all the reporters and bring on the commentators. So it just becomes
it's basically
a food fight.
Yeah, it's like Twitter, right? I mean, Twitter's just all commentary.
You don't think your tie has anything to do with it?
I think if you're a $5 subscriber to ML Soldier, if you remember the Soulmates, you're admiring this tie, and for $5 a month, what better use could you make of your money? If you're a Washington Post subscriber who just canceled your subscription, that should give you a little extra money to subscribe to.
There's a big crossover.
I'm just admiring you.
Okay, well, you shouldn't worship false idols, Shawn. But
you look good.
Jim Harbaugh.
Maybe it's because I haven't seen you in a while, but you look good.
I did miss you, Shawn, but I did hear you on last week's show. I was a little troubled at your enthusiasm level when Erika was here and how you seem to be so downcast with me here. I don't know if that's because you're playing favorites or what, but it's just
maybe the lack of long soliloquies. Well, sure. I don't know.
Ow! Ooh, that hurt him. Look at him. That hurt him.
I'm just creating an opportunity for somebody else to say something interesting.
Is there more room? Is it more equitable? I don't know.
Going back to the topic, I just don't think endorsements matter at all. I really don't. They say they do with celebrity endorsements. Like there's been studies on that show that there's a lot of people that don't pay attention if their favorite celebrity.
So Bad Bunny is going to help?
I don't get it, Shawn. I don't get why Beyonce showing up or Eminem showing up helps. I think Elon showing up for Trump helps mainly because he's got such a large mouthpiece.
Well, and it was offering people $1 million in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
And Robert Davi and Scott Baio helped get Trump elected in 2016. I mean...
Yeah, and he's in
a lot of Robert
Amber
Davi
Rose,
James Woods.
The point being is that I guess they say they
Angelina Jolie's dad.
Celebrity endorsements matter. I just don't know if editorial board endorsements matter. You're expecting a lot.
I think they make a difference, but I think it's only in a very close race, and I think it's only in a race where people don't know that much about the candidates. And can anybody tell me at this point, after 8 years on the national stage and 20 years on television and 50 years in the media, that people don't know enough about Donald Trump to make up their minds? No. I mean, now Kamala Harris, she's a little bit more of a cipher, but the whole notion that you need, and by the way, the Washington Post didn't endorse Kamala Harris, but now everybody knows they would have endorsed Kamala Harris because they've said we would have if we hadn't been stopped from doing it. I just think these endorsements, the idea that the newspaper...
That's a good point. That it's like Armando Galarraga's perfect game. Yeah, he didn't have a perfect game, but he had a perfect game.
Of all the perfect games ever thrown, his is the one that people remember because it's not. Yeah. But this notion that...
That's the tin cup idea, right? You guys saw
Streisand effect?
I did not. I'm still waiting to get Whiplash back from Blockbuster.
No, years ago.
Well, enlighten us, Shawn. Don't just dangle it.
No, I just wanted to throw that out there. No. Kevin Costner plays a golfer, and he's about to win the U.S. Open, and he, instead of laying up, he goes, he tries to hit a shot over the water, and he keeps dumping ball after ball after ball in the water. And finally, he gets one over the green, and he gets like a 12 on the final hole and blows the U.S. Open. And his caddy says, okay, nobody was going to, if you won, nobody would have remembered. But everybody remembers Jean Van de Velde from...
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, who's the French guy?
who
blew it.
Crashed.
Yeah,
I mean, if he had won that year...
No, I would never remember him.
You would never remember him.
Yeah.
The choke and remember.
Yeah, of course,
That was the real live tin cup.
If you ask Bill Buckner, do you want to be remembered forever for the reason you're remembered, he would tell you no.
I think it's a little different when it's a team sport and you have when it's just you, it's more tragic in a way. Mm-hmm. It's you don't have people counting on you. It's so you can get a little bit more empathy, I think, over time.
Yeah.
But that's a great point that you made. That we all know who the Washington Post editorial board endorses now.
Yeah,
It's clear.
no. That's, I mean, and I think
Same with the Times.
I think one year Paul Anger, when he was editor and publisher of the Free Press, kept the editorial board from endorsing who they wanted. I think he made them endorse Rick Snyder. Do you remember that, Shawn? Several years ago for governor.
Did he?
I believe so. Because at that time he was a member of the editorial board and he just kind of overruled them. But when Peter Bodia was editor of the Free Press, he didn't serve on the editorial board. And our current editor, Nicole Avery Nichols, does serve on the editorial board.
Why did Paul do that? That's not, judging by his Facebook posts and his retirement years, it seems like an odd choice.
I think Paul was very probably concerned about the opponent, and I think Paul was also very attuned with what the
establishment. I
was going to say yes, the business class had in mind,
the chamber,
but
so to speak.
But yeah, so anyways, I think the time for endorsements is over. It's been over for a long time. I think it confuses people when we try and tell people that we are separate from, the notion that we have an editorial page and that opinion is walled off from news. That's, people don't understand that. I don't know that they ever understood that, and it's time for us to just move on from that.
No, they didn't.
But the timing of Bezos doing it, really, if he'd done it a year ago, or if he said this is our last one and I'm putting down a marker that we're not going to do this again, that would have spared him all this other stuff. And apparently the head of his space program met with Trump the day that they announced they're not endorsing, and he said, "Oh, that was just total coincidence. I'm sorry about that." I mean, dude, you want to talk about rolling it out the wrong way? You take the cake, brother.
So he made it a business decision. That's
no doubt.
No, well, I mean that's what people say, but he's claiming that this was to preserve the faith in newspapers. And he also threw some stuff out like in the 80s, 80% of people got their news from local news and newspapers. And one of the reasons they don't do that anymore is because they've lost faith in us. It's like, no. One of the reasons they don't do that anymore is because you can get it on your phone. You can go to a specialty news site. I published a newspaper in the 80s. And let me tell you something.
Of course you did.
The logistics of that was friggin' impossible. Now, that same thing, I had to go to special labs that would that had a computer powerful enough to run what we needed to do to publish it.
Because your words were just so heavy.
No, because I kept getting interrupted by the dork at the other computer. But because this phone now can do all of that. In fact, I can make a movie on this phone. Well, you could look it up. But the technology has changed. That's not because of this or that, but no, it's time. It's time. I endorse no more endorsements. But
me too. Speaking on behalf of other people, which by extension,
oh yeah, here's the hoi polloi here,
and by extension, proxies.
Vox Populi.
You guys saw the comedian at the Madison Square Garden,
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Is that gonna change what's been pretty steadily? Trump has been covered in asbestos for 10 years, and now all of a sudden a comic.
I think you mean Teflon.
No, protects him from fire, right? I mean, I don't really
causes cancer, but sure.
No, I specifically used.
I think there's a reason why you use it. Yeah,
exactly.
Go ahead.
But in any case, the comedian made a joke about, and not very funny one, about Puerto Rico being an island of garbage, essentially, and that has gained traction in a way. In fact, the Trump administration tried to distance itself from it, and which they've never done.
That's what's extraordinary.
What is happening? I
can't figure it out.
This feels different. After 10 years of Trump saying whatever he wants, why is this one worrying them?
It wasn't even the worst thing said at that rally, really. I mean, there was way more vitriolic stuff, and you had Giuliani up there speaking. I like Tony Hinchcliffe. He does a podcast called Kill Tony. It's very unique. It's very funny. But he's an insult comic. He's a roaster. Maybe not the best venue for him. The joke wasn't really set up.
Oh, I think the venue is perfect for him. The fact that he set it into a big microphone, that's the problem. It's It's not the party; it's the after party.
But it's also not a roast. It wasn't the roast of Kamala Harris.
No. But I think for that audience, everybody there ate it up. There was nobody there saying, "Hey, this crossed the line." That was red meat.
But I was watching. I watched his whole speech too, and there wasn't like any setup about like environment, because we all know there is the garbage patch island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which is what the joke's based on. But there was no setup of that. It was just an island of garbage, and then he said Puerto Rico, and people are jumping on it. Maybe it's because people don't know who Tony is. Maybe I don't know. I don't understand why that is the one comment that has really got a reaction out of the Trump campaign to disavow.
So I've never heard of this guy before.
Have they ever disavowed anything?
You've heard of him before. You didn't watch the Tom Brady roast?
No.
Okay. But he was easily the star of the Tom Brady roast. But
No,
then again,
he wasn't.
Oh, yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't. Nikki Glaser was.
Oh, I think Tony, they were both great.
Well, anyways, where I'm going with this is I'd never heard of him before.
All due respect.
But the captain of my volleyball team, who's the co-captain of our championship softball
Did he help you with the newspaper?
It's a she. You think only men can be captains, Shawn? Wow, that's kind of troubling. Anyways, I didn't know you're such a misogynist pig.
What a dick.
But anyway, here's the deal. She was telling me, I love the Kill Tony
He's
podcast.
He's been talking about nurse outfits this whole fucking podcast, and way to project.
It's like Trump.
Wait a minute here.
Totally
Wait a minute here. There are male nurses, Shawn. You don't think men can be nurses? You're trying to pigeonhole women in this?
This little
I had
fantasy
no
of yours.
idea how deep your chauvinism ran until this moment, and I denounce you. I denounce you. Marc, cancel him. Cut off his mic. Cancel his ass.
Is the nurse carrying like an enema? Is that part of it too?
Well, now you're telling us more about what gets you off than about the profession that attracts the most dedicated men, women, and transsexuals to any profession that cares for others.
I'm indifferent to enemas. Hey, if they help you,
What was your point before you so rudely were interrupted?
Oh, well, that my co-captain and captain is a very, very liberal person, very enlightened, very sensitive to stuff. I would dare say woke. And when she heard about this, she's like, I love the Kill Tony podcast. I don't know what to do. This guy, I didn't expect this. I was blown away by this. Where did this come from? And I think, I've never heard of him, but I'm being introduced to him by everybody saying, what the hell? Trump people, Harris people. I mean, but I don't think this election is going to pivot on some jokes at Madison Square Garden.
It might, though. I mean, if it's really close in a couple of swing states and there were some Puerto Rican voters on the fence, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if
you're talking about margins in the thousands of people sometimes, right?
Michigan was decided by 11,000 votes in 2016. Georgia was decided by 11,000 votes in 2020. If there are 20,000 Puerto Ricans or people of Hispanic heritage in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, you name it, who have been waiting, and this swings them, then it was a major, major gaffe, right up there with George Romney saying he was brainwashed by his trip to Vietnam. But I do think, though, that if you're with Trump...
He's also not the candidate, though.
You're with Trump. You're with Trump forever.
Oh, the truest thing he ever said was he could shoot somebody in the middle of.
But that's for his committed. That's for his committed supporters. There's still some people out there on the fence, right?
No,
unbelievably enough.
Are there really?
He hits the wall at like 46, 47%, but you can be elected president when you got this goofball Jill Stein out there and worm brain Kennedy on the ballot,
and the Electoral College, right? Where that's.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get 50% to be elected president. In fact,
Clinton
you don't have to get the popular vote. I'm trying to think I think George Bush on his second campaign was the last president to win the popular vote before Biden.
What about Obama?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he won a popular vote too. I guess so. Although he wasn't an American, so that doesn't really count. I'm not counting those 8 years.
It happens more often, though. Since 2000, it's happened 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Maybe what I mean is
Bush against Gore.
Bush was the last Republican president to win the popular vote.
Yeah.
And he only did it once, even though he was elected twice. Once by the Supreme Court and then once by the good people of America.
Yeah, he won the popular vote pretty convincingly against Kerry.
I think it was close, but he won the popular vote.
He was Carrie was swift-boated.
Yeah, we need Carrie to carry us back to the future we were hoping for.
I
wonder
wait
if
for it to
Stevie
all be
Wonder did
over.
that when he was in town.
I just want it to be over.
Yeah. Well, I got news for you, brother. It's when we meet next Tuesday, it ain't going to be close to being over. It's going to be a couple days before the votes are counted.
At least the commercials will be done.
Unless there are
Maybe.
commercials that say "Go stop the steal" or "Please assemble."
Were
on
there
the
commercials
National
like that
Mall.
last time?
No, but I
Oh.
think there's actually a campaign now to prepare to challenge the vote, to undermine confidence. I mean, all
sure.
of the
I don't-
stop the steal stuff was spontaneous in 2020, but we're reading lots of stories, including in the Washington Post, that there's a concerted effort to organize people to challenge
Or
the election out results if they don't go the way that
I
Donald
saw
Trump wants.
a representative in North Carolina. There was footage of him. Was it last week talking about?
Yeah, just give us the 16 votes now. Just put them in the Trump column now.
Can't the state just give them the votes?
So
I wonder if there's going to be pressure to do that. It's just, did you see the footage of some of the ballots, the drop-in ballots? It was in Washington or Oregon.
they lit them on fire.
Yeah.
So how do
They
those
actually
people
lost ballots?
Yeah, and they don't know whose they were. So how do those people know? Unless you remember that you put it in that box, your vote isn't going to be counted.
Well, you
So-
can check, right? You can see if your vote was received, right?
I guess, but I'm sure there's a lot of old folks who just said, "Hey, Junior, would you drop this off
Probably.
for me?" You know,
But then again, how many ballots are we talking?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think these boxes take 1,000 votes, but the notion that
It's just like when people get mad about dead people who voted, they send
Yeah.
their ballot and then they die before election day. It's
and it
like
turns out there were like 6 of them.
But even so, fraud. It's not that many.
So
It's
this
just not
is
that many votes.
This is going to be misconstrued, I'm afraid, as an anti-Trump comment or anti-Republican comment. So I say this understanding that it's going to be misconstrued. But I
Sure
remember when the Republican Party was the law and order party, where they wanted to enforce the laws and they wanted to go by the book. And now we have Republicans like this guy in North Carolina saying, just count the votes for him now. And then we have fake electors sending their ballots to Congress to be counted. And we have people saying, don't certify the election the way we've done for 200 years. There's been such a change in the GOP from being the party of law and order to now storming the Capitol to, the Republicans who say they don't recognize the Republican Party, I understand why they feel that way, because this party has kind of become, will do whatever it takes and by any means necessary type
You
of
are
party.
100% correct. That will be misconstrued.
Yeah, but I think it's ironic that these mottos, by any means necessary, whatever it takes, have traditionally been associated with Democrats and liberals, and it's weird. I mean, I've covered politics for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like what we're seeing now. What we saw in 2020, I don't know. The word of the year is inflection point and all that other crap. I think whoever wins, I don't think that's the inflection point so much as the way we view these things and the way we determine who we think won. That's what's changed. And if Trump wins, this will continue. And if he loses, maybe we're done with all that. But I'm afraid we won't know next Tuesday who the winner is. I think it's going to be days and maybe even more before we can kind of move past this. Yeah, there's a happy thought.
The geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Before all these politicians start trying to blow smoke and trying to make you lose sight of what's important in the fog of war, let's talk about Dr. Yalla, who can make you see clearly. It's November and the holiday season, the end of the year, are clearly in sight. Speaking of sight, how about your inability to see objects up close without reading glasses, or in my case, your phone light? A condition is called presbyopia. If so, Dr. Yaldo can fix you up Not just for a minute, not just for an hour, just not for a day, but for life. The amazing solution is to get bifocal implants in a fast, painless experience, and that means no more struggling to see your phone, no more reading glasses, along with high-def 20/20 or better far vision. Now, Mark and I have both had LASIK done, and we see 20/15, which is better than perfect vision or what's considered perfect vision. But, you still have trouble seeing up close when you get to a certain age, and some of these procedures that Dr. Y does can take care of that. If you have a Flex or health savings account that has to be used by the end of the year, make a down payment, get 20% off, and then get your procedure anytime this year or next. Get that appointment scheduled, folks, because it's going to get booked up. This all starts with a free evaluation from Dr. Yaldo, Michigan's most experienced, honored, and most affordable eye surgeon. You can sign up at yaldoeyecenter.com, and you can find a link to Dr. Yaldo's site on our site, which is ML Soul of Detroit. That's also where you'll find a link to Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies because, I did hear from the best of celebrities because obviously we're in close contact all the time. If Donald Trump wins in November, Mark, do you know what's going to happen?
It's the end. Democracy's over.
Yeah, the end of our nation. Life as we know it. Then I heard from some other people, if Kamala Harris wins in November, Shawn, I think you were the one telling me this, but what happens then?
We're done.
It's the end of our nation. Yeah, Shawn's been saying all along, this woman is going to, she's bad. She's no good. She's going to ruin this nation. Now, he's not endorsing, but he's aware of the stakes here.
I am?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Nothing misses you. You're like a steel trap.
Yeah, I'm aware of
that's
everything.
somehow frozen because of rust. Since it appears that you may be screwed either way, why not ask Luke Nowacki for help managing your investment portfolio as the country implodes like the last days of the Roman Empire? What do you have to lose? I mean, after all, you can't lose more than 100%. But if you call Luke, he will, and this is a 100% guarantee, make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
248-663-4748.
And you can get a link to Luke's website at our website. And when you do call Dr. Y and you go see Luke, you tell him that ML sent you. I am doing this week's Geek at the risk of perhaps being premature, which would be the first time that's happened to me since, the late 80s. Anyway, the Big Ten, you're my Geek of the Week, because you know what? Devin Bush boo-hoos about maybe somebody stopped him from walking across a field. Some guys at Michigan claim that they got slapped. And before there's an investigation, the Big Ten takes action and punishes the Spartans. Well, now we have a Michigan player headbutting another player and another player under suspicion of stomping somebody. And my prediction is the Big Ten will do nothing.
Based on a suspicion? You want them to do something based on a suspicion?
No, I'm saying based on their past practice.
There's a million cameras on the field.
Yeah.
Where's the video of him stomping?
Shawn said he saw.
Meanwhile, you're trying to make a comparison to the tunnel, which we saw video.
No, it's inconclusive for sure. And the odd thing too is that Alan Haller, the Michigan State's athletic director, showed up at Jonathan Smith's weekly press news conference on Monday, and the head coach of Michigan State. And Haller said that when asked if anybody was hurt, a Michigan State staffer or player, maybe on the field on the turf in that scrum, he said he would let the Big Ten handle it. So I thought that was a little curious that they didn't even want to say if somebody was hurt or stomped on.
Or maybe he just didn't want to prejudice the investigation. I mean, this thing where Devin Bush claimed he was clotheslined while the Spartans were walking across their field like they do every home game, and then he goes out there and starts tearing up the turf. Guess what? It's like, hey, Devin Bush, you're full of shit. And second of all, you vandalized somebody else's place, and Michigan State gets fined and punished like immediately. Well, now we have a guy headbutting somebody.
It's amazing. You guys never do anything wrong.
No. When we do something wrong, not only are we punished, but we discipline ourselves. Mel Tucker suspended all those players immediately. Michigan, where Sharon Moore acknowledges, well, we don't want to end a game like that. That's not the way I want it to end, is going to do nothing. They're going to do nothing.
He said
and
yesterday
the Big Ten,
they would handle it internally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like they did with everybody else who's done something wrong there. They handle it internally. You know what they do? They say, well done, son. Well done.
So are you saying it's 100% Colson Loveland's fault, that brawl?
I'm saying, and again, I acknowledge that maybe I'll be proven wrong, and I hope I'll be proven wrong, that the Big Ten isn't going to do anything.
What do you want them to do?
They don't. When you headbutt somebody, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Shawn, was that a headbutt? Or was he getting in his face after he slapped him?
It was technically a headbutt, but it was very light. And not only that, Jones started it by shoving him and grabbing him.
Oh. Well, then suspend them both. But I guess what? If something happens, it's going to happen to the green team,
And I
not
think
to the blue
that,
team.
yeah, I think
Nothing's going to happen.
They're
chirping. Both at fault.
Precisely.
If it
Nothing's
just
gonna
stopped there, that would have been fine. The issue is it looked like Khalil Mullings.
But I love firing off. I love firing off the
somebody.
line when in a victory formation.
Well, how about all the Wolverines pouring onto the field like these guys can't handle
themselves? By their
themselves?
sideline.
So what?
By the way, the Spartans poured onto the field too. So
Second. We came on second.
okay, I know you guys never do anything wrong.
No, we do.
You did come in second.
We
that
do.
night.
We do things wrong, and we're punished for it. We're punished when we don't do things wrong. But Michigan,
So was Michigan.
Michigan,
How
never.
about this? And this is I'm just exhausted. This is driving me crazy. And this is what I wrote last night. Unfortunately, did not.
Or fortunately,
it was not me. Okay, fine. It didn't get published, and I guess that's good in Mike's eyes. I am so sick and tired of both y'all and both the universities that you represent and all the proxies out there speaking on behalf of these two schools and these two programs, taking a couple of dudes in a competitive environment, maybe a slight headbutt, whatever, and saying, okay, the other side is has no soul.
Amen. I'm with you.
Or moral, looking for reasons. We do it in politics too. Looking for reasons to find moral superiority.
It was the end of the game. It was a stupid scrum.
To paint 50,000 people as having no moral compass. It's ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of it.
I'm talking about
That's what I wrote.
I'm talking about the Big Ten, Sean. I'm not talking about Michigan. Everybody knows they got no soul. I'm talking about the Big Ten.
You mean the Big Ten after 12 of the 14? 11 of the 14 athletic directors lobbied to have Harbaugh suspended with no due process. That Big Ten.
And I think Michigan suspended him themselves, so obviously they thought there was a problem there.
Not for the last 3 games, absolutely
Oh,
not.
it was the first time he was suspended. I forgot. We're trying to defend the honor of a coach who was suspended by his own university for lying. You know, you want to talk about...
He didn't lie, but that's all right.
Okay, anyways, Big Ten, you're my geek of the week.
Sorry, Shawn was receiving a call.
Okay, good. Usually he just texts and watches porn during the show.
By the way,
with the mute on.
You said Alan Haller just came into the
project.
Did he come into the press conference? Because I didn't see that. You covered it though.
No. I was at the Sharon Moore press conference, but Chris Solari, who covered it for us for the Detroit Free Press, he wrote that out.
Did Jonathan Smith know he was coming?
I'm sure he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think
so. He kind of endorsed it. Because I thought both Moore and Smith's comments after the game were like, yeah, okay, can we just be done with this?
No, they were nothing like what Harbaugh did a couple of years ago.
I agree, 100% agree.
Thank goodness, and I wrote that too. Of course,
but now we're whining about it 2 days later. It's scrum where no one got hurt.
No, what we're whining about is equal enforcement of the rules.
You're whining though. Okay.
Well, I said we. I'm not whining. You are. I put us together in the same category because I consider you a brother, a somewhat defective brother. Maybe a weird cousin like Shemp we were referring to earlier.
All I know is he's wearing shorts and his legs look great.
I didn't want to tell this until Shawn went to take a tinkle, which he always does during Room 7609. But just last week, the Free Press installed a new quality control app on our editorial system. So I think maybe that column wasn't lost. It may have just been.
Oh, come on! He's heartbroken about it. He's very upset.
It may have been purged by our effort to improve the content at the Free Press, but it's just a content management.
I wanted to read his column. Sounds like a great column.
It's a classic Shawn Windsor column. Like, everybody's right. Nothing's wrong. Why can't we all get along? It's like, yeah, great. Way to go there, Rodney. Anyways, the Cadger Cafe is the pride of the East Side, where you'll find great eats, dope beats, and feather bowling. Start your week off right with Muscle Madness every Monday, when the Cadger dishes up all-you-can-eat mussels. They'll also have some pretty cool blues. Wednesday, it's karaoke. Thursday, hear Halloween Night, like you've never heard it before. That's with the Rockstar Costume Party concert. The Rockstar Costume Party concert. Oh, speaking of something we've never heard before, there's a little dog here. Friday, it's the music of Steely Dan with Chris Kazawa and Michael King. Saturday, Bobby Murray with Lanny Watkins and Greg Nagy. They take the stage and end the weekend on a high note with Cubist Agenda on Sunday. For more music and the menu, go to cadgercafe.com. We do invite you to recommend songs for Room 7609. We, of course, always like it when you give us a story, too. And that's precisely what we got from longtime listener David, who says, ML, since I imagine you've brought down the room for the last 45 minutes whining about how unfair the U of M MSU game was, just whining about how unfair the Big Ten is, please bring the room up.
Go to a different conference.
Last week, I would if we have to put up with this bullshit. Last week, Shawn dropped perhaps the best line in show history. I think that's when he said, I'm leaving. No, that wasn't it. He said he was drinking a case of beer with a buddy, smoking weed while dropping acid. David, I see you are indeed a fan of the counterculture. Shawn, delivering it in your understated, everyman, no big deal delivery was everything. God bless you, sir. You reminded me of one of the most interesting songs I've ever come across. It contains one of the best rhythms, in my opinion, and its lyrics consist all of 7 words. So enjoy Feel Good Hit of the Summer by Queens of the Stone Age, brought to you by the one and only David Jones. Not from the Monkees, not David Bowie, but just plain old David.
Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Oh, nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Oh, nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol. Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and alcohol.
Great song.
Well, Dave makes it official. Shawn is the symbol of all that's wrong with America.
How did I get used in this intro? I ran up to the bathroom and I came back and y'all were still talking, which surprised me. Usually you say it after the.
Well, maybe if you sat and listened instead of shaking the snake, you'd know.
It's a very small snake.
Yes, some people would say it's an earthworm or maybe a paramecium. Anyway, here's what Dave said, because it bears repeating. Last week, Shawn dropped perhaps the best line in show history. He said he was drinking a case of beer with a buddy, smoking weed, while jerking each other off and dropping acid.
I don't remember the jerking each other off part.
Yeah, actually, Dave didn't write that. I just want to see if you're paying attention. Yeah. So he said, Shawn, delivering it in your understated, everyman, no big deal delivery was everything. God bless you, sir. And then he said this reminded of one of the most interesting songs I ever heard of. It had 7 words, which...
A little redundant.
Yeah. I mean, was it cocaine, acid, blah, 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 blah. It says over and over.
Yeah.
Pretty cool video, though.
Yeah.
Which you can see if you're watching this.
Yeah, thank you for that. Nice song, too. Thank you for reading that again. Sorry that my
your constricted urethra once again dragged this show out needlessly.
Broken down body got in the way. Yeah.
No, it's just a defective penis. It's nothing to have to apologize for, except to every woman you've ever met.
I wouldn't know what an effective one was.
Including, what'd you say, some confused woman in Nashville looking for clove cigarettes. Mark, do we have that drop?
You have the...
not handy.
Damn it.
Wait, what are we talking about?
When you were talking about, I was with a little confused woman in Nashville looking for a dog track and clove cigarettes. We still keep in touch quite often.
That was Memphis.
Whatever. Nashville, Memphis. I don't know. Which one has the sandwich?
Very different places.
Yeah, that's what you say.
Speaking of Memphis, I once went through there with an unhinged gal. You've got drops now.
Yeah, and
we still say hi every now and again.
That's it.
I loved her.
Now, Dave, that was the best line ever said on this show. Hit that one again, Mark. That's worth
the first one.
Speaking of Memphis, I once went through there with an unhinged gal.
Not a member of the Soulmates, by the way. She was going to, but
unhinged.
apparently they do still keep in touch every once in a while. Hit it.
I know, but I already moved on.
Yeah, he's moved on. Mark's ready to get out of here. We still say hi every now and again.
I mean, some people were late today.
Just like it wasn't a headbutt.
Okay. I came in. I got here when Mike did.
I can't believe you're complaining about the Big Ten dishing out justice with the way they handled the Harbaugh Connor Stallions thing. Laughable.
Harbaugh
Laughable.
cheated. Everybody in college football agrees. They're still talking about it. And you guys in Ann Arbor,
when did he cheat?
Nothing to see here.
When did he cheat?
No, here's your other argument. It's like, it's not really cheating because everybody does it.
When did he cheat? What did he do?
He had somebody stealing signs.
Which is legal?
He treated a recruit to a meal when he wasn't supposed to, and then lied about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
how
can we even be arguing that Jim Harbaugh is not a liar?
Okay.
I mean,
Boy,
seriously,
man, really got under your skin.
No, I mean,
what I'm talking about is you're complaining about how big the Big Ten deals out justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they suspended him for 3 games because of his whiny Zoom meeting.
No, because everybody knows what he did was wrong.
What did he do that was wrong?
Stealing signs.
It's not wrong. It's not illegal.
It is when you send somebody out in advance.
Yeah, but he didn't do that.
But somebody on his staff did.
We can't even talk about this. You're just like that whole Vietnam thing never happened. It's like, well, I think there's tens of thousands.
No, what I'm talking about is you're upset at how they deal out justice, but that seems to be very selective.
Well, the university could have fought it, but instead they decided to suspend their own guy.
I like it when you get that look on your face
if
and
you
your
guys think you can
eyebrows.
win the case, if you guys think you have right on your side, then fight the case. But don't capitulate and then say, "Oh, we got jobbed," because that's the only words that always come out of Michigan's mouth, no matter what.
They didn't think
we always get
win.
jobbed.
You guys are best. You guys are good pals. Why are you denigrating each other's schools like this?
I'm
By
not
the
the
way,
one that was upset about this
when Mike
fight.
gets like that, his face, the eyebrows go so high up they almost touch his little curly Q. I like this.
I just like the
very
selective anger. It's really cute.
Very expressive.
It's not selective.
You should have been an actor.
Selective.
No, it's not. If they did their job, I wouldn't feel this way. But I seem to think of a university coach saying, we want this investigated and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. At the same time, he's covering up crimes on his program when his guys do nothing. Xavier Smith traveling with an unlicensed gun at a high rate of speed is a crime. Mozzie, whatever it is, he admitted to it. Mm-hmm. He pleaded guilty to it. That's a crime. Now, you cannot debate that there wasn't a criminal act that somebody admitted to.
That's why you're mad at the Big Ten?
I'm mad at the Big Ten because they allow this farce to continue. When somebody acts the fool, you count on a third party to come in and adjudicate it.
They suspended a coach for 3 games. With no due process based on nothing other than people whining on a Zoom meeting.
Now, forgive me because I get confused with all of Jim Harbaugh's disciplinary measures. Mm-hmm. Didn't the university suspend him for 3 games?
That was over running into the recruit that he just paid for the...
Right. There was a different thing he got suspended for.
Yeah. I do have a question.
We were talking about the Big Ten.
Hold on.
We seem to keep talking about the same university breaking the rules and then complain they're being picked on.
Hold on.
Sorry,
I have a question for
that don't hold water.
Let me ask you all a question.
There's 2 different jurisdictions.
Let me ask you all a question. Okay.
So we do something wrong in one jurisdiction, it doesn't count?
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What's next?
Well, you interrupting, we can count on that all the time.
Do we have feedback? Or
we don't have any new donors, but I do understand that there are some new soulmates that were thanked last week. And on behalf of the show, I want to say thank you very much for signing up. My perplexed expression, which may or may not feature some very thin eyebrows, you can only see if you are a member of the Soulmates, which is Erika. That's a name she came up with for those of you who contribute as little as $5 a month to Patreon to support this show. And there's some benefits you get. You get to watch the show. You get access to the show before anybody else. You don't have to listen to those annoying insertion ads that, by the way, we know they pop up in the weirdest places. We don't know what to do about that. But if you can spare $5 a month, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You also will get access to our monthly bonus episode. We will be recording one very soon and posting it with Erika. If you have any suggestions for our bonus episode, we would love to hear them. You can send those to us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. I'm thinking maybe we'll do another Ask the Soul episode, but we may want to call it Ask Erika because I think she's wiser than any of us. Or maybe we'll have a guest in here to participate. We are trying to get some more really interesting and fun people to join us. Unfortunately, they're familiar with the show, so they're like, I don't think I want to do that. But we may trick them, so stick around and see whether we pull that off. And of course, we love to get your feedback. Sophia writes, hi, love the pod. If it's not too late, maybe you can riff about this today? Do you think Kamala Harris is guilty of stolen McValor and is lying about being a fry cook at a McDonald's in California in the summer of 1983 when she was a rising sophomore at Howard University? And if you had to, could you prove your college-era jobs? How and where at? Sincerely, Sophia in Plymouth. And by the way, in Greek, Sophia means wisdom. I don't know. Does anybody doubt that Kamala Harris really worked at...
lots of people doubt it.
I mean, among us. I mean, I'm talking about among mostly reasonable people. Reasonable people and someone who went to the University of Michigan.
No, I don't doubt it. It was probably a summer job. I think she might be embellishing it a little bit. She probably worked there for a handful of months, but nobody keeps those records from 1980.
I don't know how I'd prove that I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken when I was 16.
Yeah.
If we saw you naked, I think it'd be obvious.
I don't think parents have a record of my employment at McDonald's for numerous years.
I don't think they would have those. The place wouldn't have those.
Well, they're not franchise owned. They're not franchisees anymore, and you just I don't know. Well, I guess she could dig up. What I do find surprising is that no coworker from that time has come out and said, yeah, she worked here for a while. Like that's a little surprising. So is it dubious? Yeah, maybe. Does it matter? I don't think it matters one bit, but it's not like she just started saying this 2019 and people are all bent out of shape because she never put it on a resume. I never put mine on a resume either because I went into a totally different field.
Well, here's what Piers Morgan, obviously the bastion of journalism and truth, had to say, and this is some of the evidence Sophia cites. Harris omitted any mention of the job in her memoir and 20 years of California campaigning. first claimed the job randomly in 2019 in her run for
She's right.
2020.
It wasn't random, but it was a $15 an hour protest. So yeah, she could have just made it up then.
So I worked at the Sherwin-Williams on the corner of East Warren and Kensington. And by the way, once I actually had some professional credentials, that didn't show up on my resume. Nobody's going to hire me to be a reporter because I worked at the Sherwin-Williams. Yeah. You drop things, but maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But that doesn't seem very definitive to me.
Look, if you think she's a liar, then you're going to think she's lying about this. So, that's why I don't think it matters one bit.
Here's another a bit of quasi-proof. Omitted mention of the job in a 10-year work history background check for a prosecutor job in 1987. So I guess, did she work there in 1977 or more recently? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Why wouldn't she mention that? I don't know. No offense to McDonald's. Most people get their start working at McDonald's.
1 out of 8.
And my wife worked there, loved it, still talks. I'm like, get over it. But it's
I loved it, man.
I worked at an Arby's too, and did a couple of weeks at Christmas time at a Burger King one time. I'm very proud of that.
Did you put it on your resume?
No.
Can you prove it?
The Kentucky Fried Chicken, though, our drive-through gal got taken hostage.
We call them women now,
so
Sean.
that was.
Excuse me?
That was kind of intense.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but anyway, that's a story for another time.
Yeah, because I'm glad you exhausted all the fascinating stories before you got to that one.
How can you just drop that at the end of it? Okay, right.
The colonel was involved in a hostage situation. And by the way, Sean just kind of filtered a Belvin story in last week and didn't really go anywhere. I was like, this is when you stop everything. You say, what was Belvin?
I have a vague recollection. Have you brought this up before?
I don't know. What I didn't mention Belvin. Did I mention Belvin?
Yes, drinking Jack Daniels. Yes. Thank you for remembering what you said.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. They all run into it. One runs into the next.
The Big Ten better do something about you.
Yeah, I guess so.
They won't.
I guess
they won't.
So. Any other feedback?
All he needs is Imodium. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for the death sentence. Just make the man's diarrhea solid. Okay, so McDonald's corporate can confirm the older Jeff Bezos and Jay Leno worked at McDonald's. They have zero record of Harris. Again, I'm not here to support or whatever Harris's claim. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Mark, aren't McDonald's individually owned?
There's some that are corporate owned. I don't know who owned the store she worked at.
But so if she worked at one,
if they even still own it.
Yeah, if she worked at one that was owned by an independent franchisee, would they feed those records to McDonald's corporate? Would that be a matter of the local not having?
Unlikely.
So that doesn't really feel conclusive. And let me just tell you again, I'm not here to defend Kamala Harris. I'm just saying, as an investigative reporter,
I would think
who reports about a lot of shit, we don't go with kinda. We go with gotcha.
Well, yeah.
And this is all kinda. Harris has provided zero evidence she worked there. Her own sister won't even vouch for her. Is that true?
I don't know about that.
I know her dad's not talking to her, but no former colleagues have come forward.
Her sister works for her, so I don't know. I'd be surprised if she didn't back it up.
I guess if her sister came forward, it'd be like, well, of course she came forward with her. She works for her. It's her sister. Now the campaign is ghosting reporters who request more details. I don't know if reporters are being ghosted. Maybe Jesse Waters isn't getting his calls returned. But if you called me when I was running for Detroit City Council and launched my campaign in front of the Sherwin-Williams where I used to work and said, prove that you worked here, I want to see your pay stubs. I'm like, you think I kept pay stubs from 1984?
It'd be hard to prove it.
For a job that paid me $3.35 an hour. Now, I could probably get Jeff Posby to come out there and maybe Glenn Oshnock to come out there and confirm that I worked there, but nobody's keeping those records.
Once again, that's what I think is weird, that she doesn't have a former coworker who could say, yeah, she worked there with us for a summer, for a month even, or whatever it is.
Well, and, this isn't meant to sound sexist, but she's a pretty good-looking woman. I think I would have remembered working with Kamala Harris at a McDonald's. So maybe that's one of the more...
Well, especially if she became a prosecutor a few years after that, you'd remember.
Yeah. She would, or, hey, I used to flip burgers with the attorney general. Or, hey, you know who used to steal cherry pies? The vice president of the United States.
Yeah, of course.
So I am a little surprised no colleagues have come forward. At least Piers Morgan didn't find them. Of course, he's in England. But anyways, she was raised Hindu by a devout Hindu mother. Hindus don't eat beef. Even 80s McDonald's fries were deep fried in beef tallow.
Yeah, but you can work there and not eat the food, because I worked with plenty of vegetarians.
So now I guess she was stealing fries. Her crimes never stop. Last point from Piers Morgan, brought to us by Sophia. Her mother was a Brahmin class doctor, PhD. Brahmins are deeply elitist, and it would be highly abnormal for one of their kids to work in the service sector.
Okay, I don't know.
You know what? I know rich kids who busted a knuckle doing stuff. I don't think that. I don't know. This all feels like reaching, but if the worst thing
that's going to happen because there's no definitive proof either which way, right? So one side's just say, no, she did, and the other side's going to say, no, she didn't, and that's fact.
Well, if this campaign pivots on whether somebody did or did not work at a McDonald's in high school, then I think our country's in a lot of trouble. But let me tell you, Sophia and everybody else listening, how real reporters work, not tools like Piers Morgan. We answer your questions. We don't ask them. And I think the most cryptic column I've ever wrote was about a candidate from Macomb County Sheriff who may have been a tax cheat. Well, actually, no, he did get a tax break he didn't deserve. And even though we didn't call him a tax cheat, we laid it out. We thought maybe he had some voting registration issues, but it turns out we just found out he had some property tax issues. And the only question we asked people is, was this a scheme or was this a mistake? But we did prove that he did get a tax break he wasn't entitled to. Just throwing these questions out without answers is pointless. And last week, I will tell you, I spent a lot of time driving to a candidate's house in the country to try and determine whether or not they had somebody else living there. And there's a whole backstory as to why that would be significant or not. In the end, I didn't give up on that story until somebody provided me a floor plan of the house and a video tour that showed where somebody came in and came out. Again, we don't need to get into the details, but real reporters try and get all the facts before they say anything. And when it turns out they can't get the facts, or it turns out what they were told is not factual, they just move on. So, I'm not really persuaded by much of what Piers Morgan came up with, but I'm also not really that concerned about whether Kamala Harris worked at a McDonald's. If she did, great. If she didn't, I guess she'll have to answer for that. But let's focus as we go into this last week of the campaign on the issues that really matter. And they're going to be different issues for you than they are for me. But if there are things that you really care about, find out where the candidates stand on those issues and then cast your ballot on those answers, because that's what's really important. All these commercials, all this crap that's coming into your mailbox, all these texts messages you're getting. And how do you guys feel about this campaign to essentially shame us by saying, other people will know whether you voted. We have no records that you voted.
I don't care if people know if I voted or not.
I'm all for encouraging participation.
But not voting, once again, is a form of voting. Saying,
I mean,
don't like either one of these.
It's a chicken shit form of voting. But this notion that people are going to find out I didn't vote, and so somehow then they should then shame me. I want everybody to vote, but I don't think I want people to vote because they are worried they're going to be bullied by their family, friends, and neighbors. That seems like a strategy that perhaps it's effective, but it seems a little wrong-headed to me. Speaking about wrong-headed, I'm wondering, Shawn, do you have anything before we go?
No, it's nice to have you back.
And four-headed, for that matter.
Oh, that's rude.
No, that's okay.
Head-butted, Marc, for you. Yeah, I hope you're going to wear that T-shirt proudly.
I hope the Big Ten does something to him about that. That's just terrible.
All right, they give him Offensive Player of the Week for 2 touchdowns.
Oh, it's nice to have you back.
And so they'll forget the one he dropped.
We missed somebody saying
Cyrus. Should probably hold on to the ball and keep his lips shut, but that's the way it goes.
Who? Colston?
Colston Lufton.
He's outscored the Spartans his whole career?
That's great. He's dropped some key balls to the cost of games.
24 to 17.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. If he ever sees me, I'll even that up.
Okay.
I got hands like super glue. That's me.
I think it's kind of past the expiration date.
Does super glue expire? Or only when you're sniffing it while doing acid and drinking a case of beer with a buddy, as Dave Jones.
He missed us. He doesn't want it to end, does he?
I think it was 26-24. He outscored the Spartans.
Okay. So
3 years.
You were wrong. Sorry.
Oh, you give him credit for the extra points, or you're not?
He scored a 2-point conversion on.
Okay. He just converted. Okay. He just changed.
He converted. All right. Good.
Yeah.
I thought he was agnostic. Shawn, do you want to do the honors?
Cyrus, take us out.
I wasn't ready. Hang on. Go ahead, do it again.
Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig
We'll
that?
fix it.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Haven't you heard of peace on earth and goodwill toward men? Touchstone Pictures presents the enchanting story of two very special dreamers and the holiday spirit that brought them together. From the imagination of Marc comes The Soul of Detroit.
And what did Shawn bring you, honey?